Hey everybody, welcome to We Watch TV. It's the podcast about the TV that we watch. I'm Daniel, she's Hope. This is episode 86. If you follow us on Instagram, I think you got a little... If you follow us on Instagram and you pay attention to what we post on Instagram, you may have had a little surprise last week. This is a classic example of why I shouldn't be allowed within 30 feet of our social media posting. but let me explain what happened, and then we'll tell you what happened. Of course, you guys know we got the podcast out late last week.
One day late.
And we were both very tired. We're still very tired. We're going to be tired forever.
It just never ends. I'm
until we
tired.
die. So, Hope got up before work and posted, on the story. And then she texted me and she's like, okay, at some point during the day, can you handle getting a grid post up? Now, first of all, I just want to make a kind of comment. Instagram used to be easy. You just posted on Instagram. You didn't have the story and the grid and the reels and all this crap. But now it has some. And so so Hope posts about the podcast before work on the story. And then she goes off to work. And she texts me and says, hey, at some point during the day, please put something on the grid. So after I rub my nose up about the grid for a little bit, I go ahead and I get on the interwebs and I find a picture of one of the shows that we were watching. What was that show?
Nobody Wants This.
Nobody Wants This.
And nobody wanted that. No.
And I posted it on the grid. I, copy and pasted all the text that needed to be done, wiped my hands of it, went on with my day. And then, so do you want to tell them what happened in the evening when you got done with work and you got on and started looking at the social media account?
So in the evening, I perused the account before I was going to put my phone up for the evening, just kind of my decompression time. And I finally noticed the photo that Daniel chose. Now, and Nobody Wants This, that's the show with Adam Brody and Kristen Bell that we finished. It's on Netflix. Season 1 just got picked up from season 2. You're so, not only are you label adverse, you're surroundings adverse. So I didn't notice it at first either. And then I'm looking at it, and I text him. You were downstairs playing video games or something.
Sure.
And I text him. I said, did you mean to post this picture to be funny? Because I really think you need to remove it. You proceed. Say without using the actual words.
I said yes.
PG.
I certainly did intend to post a picture of the two main protagonists of that TV show. And when I went and looked, all of a sudden there was stuff in the background. So if you've seen the show, one of the early episodes they go to a sex shop.
For her podcast.
Yes. To purchase things for her podcast. And within this shop are the things that you would expect to find in a shop like that. And, of course, those items are on a shelf right behind them in the picture.
And it's
I'm telling you, I did not see it. It was not. You asked me, did I do it on purpose? Absolutely
that
not.
Was up there all day. And I said, you might want to switch out the pictures. And he's like, I'm out. I'm done. So then I had to find an appropriate photo to use. But I really thought that maybe you were trying to be funny. And I'm like, I don't know. I
still have it on my phone. If anybody wants to see it, just hit me up on Twitter or something.
Maybe I was just being a prude. Did anybody notice?
It
was hard to notice because it's in fluorescent in the background. But I'm like, what scene is this from on the show when I'm looking? And then I'm like, what? Why did he pick this? So it's between that, you can never figure out in the Cool Whip labels, which they all do look the same. Would you have trouble? You used to have trouble with Coke really bad, the Diet.
I still do.
Zero.
Because Diet Coke is fine because the box is a different color.
Yes.
But regular Coke and Coke Zero, the only difference is the font is a different
black
color.
And one's in white.
Yes. And of course it says the word zero on the zero one, but we disregard that. So yeah, that was fun. I'm never touching the account again. Good luck in your future endeavors on promoting the podcast on the Instagram account. Because I'll give you lessons. I'm not allowed on there anymore.
It's called looking at the picture with a fine-tooth comb. I just thought that you meant to do it, and I was like, I don't think that joke's going to hit. And you're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, did you mean to post this?
No, obviously not.
Anyway, go watch that show if you guys haven't, and listen to last week's episode where we talked about our thoughts on the last few episodes of it, because as we said, it is getting a season 2.
Speaking of Instagram, obviously it's clear now we have an Instagram, and it's at We Watch TV Podcast. You should go over and follow it if you do not already, and maybe keep an eye on it. You never know when I might get access back to it and just go completely wild and post something insane on there, and you know get deleted. So you'll just have to see. And with that, we do want to remind everybody before we get started, this is a spoiler podcast. We're trying to get into the habit of letting everybody know, because sometimes we have new people show up on here, and we don't want them to be spoiled on a show they didn't want to be, because we both know that's the worst thing that can happen. Well, okay. Hope really hates spoilers.
Are you on the other side?
I'm on the other side of spoilers. I'm not. I will say I don't actively seek them out. They seem to seek me out, and I don't turn them away.
It depends on what show it is. Like when I was watching like Bachelor and stuff, I like to know who they pick, so I'll look at spoilers on that. But then like big reveals and stuff on shows, I usually want to wait a little bit. It's like it really did make it hard to get through those last few episodes of the Umbrella Academy, because I had it spoiled for me on TikTok within hours of it being released. Like when we do it, it's typically we're like almost like a week behind, and you guys know that you can check those little chapter markers and jump around. And then if you are waiting to watch a show like all at once, like Agatha All Along, for example, you know that we do supercut episodes that takes all of our conversations in each podcast, fuses it into one super, if you will, episode, and those are usually released, you know, a few weeks, sometimes a month after a show has ended. We know we'll have one coming for Agatha All Along. So do you just want to go ahead and start off with Agatha All Along? All right. Well, we are down to 3 episodes left. We're going to get an episode this week, and then we're going to get the last 2 episodes next week, just in time for Halloween. So hopefully it'll be some spooky, scary fun. This previous episode, we really got to learn more about Billy Maximoff. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah, Maximoff.
I always say Maximoff. / Billy Kaplan, William Kaplan, and the whole episode was pretty much from his perspective. I saw online that a lot of people were kind of annoyed by that it wasn't like the crew of Agatha, but I think to explain how Wanda's son survived, it did need some explanation, and it provided us with the hilarious scenes of someone else seeing Agatha. Mm-hmm. We got to see her when she was in her like true detective phase, what it looked like from her point of view, and then you got to see just how insane and crazy she looked from other people's point of view when she was, you know, running around like, you want to poke the bear. It brought some good comedy, but it also brought up some questions. So Billy does make a reference to Rio at one point. You hear him mention her. So I do think he can see her at some point. But do you think that there's been some theories circulating. Do you think that she was around the entire time that we have seen her on screen, or is she also in Agatha's head at that point? And Agatha trying to figure out why she knows this woman.
I think until she showed up on the Witch's Road, that was the first time she actually showed up.
See, now that I would agree with that, but apparently there is a scene which we need to go back and rewatch where Billy does reference her. So I'm not sure. Like he makes note of her.
Okay. Does that mean he was seeing her?
Then why would he? Who was he talking about then?
I don't know.
Interesting.
There's something going on. Even beyond, like, this flashback episode showed us a lot of what we think is going on, but did it really, or is there something else going on?
Well, it answered a lot of questions. He is the Black Heart in the coven. Because his boyfriend made a reference to that, so you could put that together. So now it's further confirmation that like Rio, like she was not supposed to be a part of it. He was always supposed to be a part of it. It explained, I thought, very well how the soul of our Billy went into William Kaplan when he passed away, unfortunately, after his bar mitzvah. I can't say that right. Bar mitzvah. I just want to make sure I was saying it correctly. We sometimes pronounce things wrong, but like he had nice parents. It makes me feel sad because
Yeah.
and I feel like our Billy has grown to like love these people, but he
sure.
still had those questions of who is he, what's going on, and Ralph Bohner shows up, who played Quicksilver, Wanda's twin brother, but in the X-Men universe, and then they kind of had him come on for WandaVision. He was the basically man that Agatha, aka Agnes, in WandaVision forced to be her husband. And like everybody in Westview has their memories of kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Unless so Billy is trying to figure out because he just knows there's something going on. He's been trying to put the pieces together. So they meet Ralph in a parking garage, and Ralph is the one that says, you need to, talk to Agatha. She's going to know. She's going to have information. And it was just now that people have pointed out like the shirt that Agatha was wearing.
They're going to be selling that shirt, right?
Yeah. That was a Boner family reunion. What did it say?
Pitch a tent.
So it's just like tiny little details like that. I'm like, and this is a Disney Plus show too. So that was just comical. And yeah, I liked seeing him again. I guess I didn't expect to see him again. So that was good. We know who put the sigil on Billy.
Yeah, well, we think we know. Again,
it was Lilia.
Lilia. We that's what we saw. But again, I'm reading some stuff from some people that have made some observations that make you wonder if how much of that actually happened.
Yeah.
If it's going to be an illusion inside of an illusion almost.
Ooh, very interesting.
Maybe not. It could be crazy stuff, but they had some good observations.
If that actually happened, then is Patti LuPone the whole reason why, Wanda went insane because she couldn't sense, she sensed that, if she could have sensed that her child was alive, she might have not gone crazy at the end of Doctor Strange. Who knows? I have seen some other fans that seemed a little perturbed that when Billy's end goal is revealed as to why he wants to go down the witch's road. And you and I had kind of started piecing that out, that it wasn't for Wanda, it wasn't for Vision, it was to find Tommy, his twin brother. When he woke up out of that coma as, in William Kaplan's body, the first thing he shouted was Tommy. And to the people that are a little confused about that or kind of annoyed, I say, for one, for all he knows that he's pieced together that Wanda is dead. But then there's that twin connection, which Wanda always had with her brother. Wanda would have done the exact same thing. She would have been looking for her brother as well. So I think it honestly fits. And if they go by the comics, he does find Tommy, and then together they do eventually find Wanda, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think most of the fans are just they were very sure this was going to bring Wanda back.
And we really do want her to come back.
Yeah, we do. And I don't know that him looking for Tommy and not Wanda is first of all, there's no guarantee that he finds Tommy at the end. He might find Wanda instead. It might be a bad thing. Yeah. We don't know. Bad for who? Agatha, maybe. So I don't understand what people are upset about, to be honest.
I think it makes sense.
I think it's weird.
Because Wanda would have done the exact same thing. Now, I do think we had some questions about Billy's boyfriend. I think that we might be stretching there. We were like, what if he's Nicholas Scratch? What if he's so-and-so? I think he might just be an average, normal teenager just helping his boyfriend out, and that we're reading way too much into that. I do think Nicholas Scratch is going to come into play these last 3 episodes. But I'm excited. I'm excited for more.
I'm a little disappointed that it's coming to a close, but the last 2 episodes coming at the same night gets excited. That means we got at least probably hour and a half of fun times to watch, and we'll see how it all wraps up.
Yeah.
One thing.
Well, we have 3 episodes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So we got this week, but then we got the last 2 are basically one big episode there at the end. One thing of note that I think was really interesting was that trailer we got before last week's episode. Mm-hmm. They basically burnt out everything that was in that trailer.
Yeah.
In the episode that we just got,
we
that we're talking
seen all
about
of
tonight.
It. We don't know.
Most of it was in there, though.
We haven't had the Wizard of Oz stuff yet, and I think that's going to be a Lilia.
So we really, the last
episode.
3 episodes, have seen nothing.
Yeah.
Previewed nothing of what's going to happen. So I'm interested to see what kind of characters show up. A lot of Marvel fans are always on this Mephisto train. He's a villain that they are really interested in. They did name drop him, so I would be interested to know if maybe he is behind some of this. Certainly, I think Wanda showing up is a stretch unless it's like a really big wink and a nod. But Elizabeth Olsen is not going to be in the show.
I really did like that last interaction between Agatha and Billy, and she's like, "It's good to see you again."
Yeah.
Like, and she did have some tears in her eyes, which I think could partially be because, she was starting to suspect, but that was the absolute confirmation that that was not her son. But I also think maybe it's just me trying to reach that maybe I'm not cared for is not the right word, but a little bit of fondness, a little bit of like proud that he would go to these lengths. I don't know, some pride there. I thought that was funny, and not funny, but like just cute. What do you think about that? I like the way they did the scene. You could have it open to interpretation, in my opinion.
It is really interesting to me watching this show because before this show, Wanda was, or not Wanda, but Agnes was a villain in WandaVision. And you kind of see this show and you're like, okay, they're going to try and do a little turn. I don't think they are.
I don't want to go back in the closet again.
I think she might end up just being a straight up villain by the end of this show. And, opposed to Billy and Tommy, maybe if they end up finding him or Wanda. And kind of just that it's a real gray area.
But that's why I was saying, like, that it wasn't maybe so much that she cared for him with the tear, but it was almost like a pride. Like, hey, I'm impressed by what you did.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Like, that's kind of like just that moment between them. But yeah, I don't think she has to necessarily be good, but I do think we have seen moments of humanity from her. Like, I think that it's evident that sometimes she can't control her powers when she takes the powers from others. She clearly has mommy issues, which we've seen. Of course. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. If this whole Witches Road thing has been a whole big illusion, I think that'll be a little bit out of pocket, and I'm going to want some good explanation other than, what's his name? Mephisto?
Mephisto, yeah.
I'm going to need more than like, oh, haha, that's what he did. Like, they're going to have to actually, like, I think that'd be sloppy, I guess, if they just up and did that without very little explanation or showing. Like, that would kind of irritate me as a fan.
Sure. Although they did get onto the road very easy.
Yeah, because they were all meant to be there.
I guess.
Which we got more of that song. We actually got Lorna's version because Billy was listening to it.
So we have 3 versions now?
Basically, yes.
So.
We just need the whole album.
Yeah, we do. All right. Well, next up, Only Murders in the Building. And here we've only got 2 episodes left for the season.
And one of those is going to drop tonight. So, still not much closer to who the actual murderer is.
No, farther away now because really they use this episode. This is a classic Only Murders episode. Like 3 episodes left in the season, and this was a classic. All right, we're gonna. As soon as I saw who they were going to try and pin as the murderers, I was like, oh well, they're not the Westies are not the murderers.
The group with Dudenoff, we got to figure out how he passed away.
Yeah.
They explained that basically he must have had some illness.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked them to like put his body in the incinerator, which is still very creepy to me. So those people, unless somebody just shows up another red flag, I feel like they kind of said it's not them.
Yeah, it's not them as far as I'm concerned. And the show has eliminated them as contestants in this contest. And I'll be honest, like, they haven't pointed directly, unless I've missed something, there's really not like I don't have a theory beyond Scott Bakula right now. And, that's a joke theory of mine.
Well, they sort of pointed to the guy that played Paul Rudd's stunt double.
They did at the end of the episode.
We learned that he was Saz's protege, and he was obviously, and we've seen him be kind of crazy, and he's in the hospital right now. But I think that's another classic red flag before the reveal.
Because they'll focus on this coming episode tonight and eliminate him by the end, and then it'll be 1 episode left to figure it all out.
Didn't they talk a little bit, too, about, like, Tony Danza?
They made a good the Tony Danza joke in the episode where they set it up early. They set it up early, and then 15 minutes later they paid it off. Was a great joke. It was a great joke. I don't remember exactly what the details were, but the setup and the payoff was perfect.
It was good. Good.
But yeah, they're doing the classic thing to me where every season, the last 3 to 4 episodes is they run through all the people they think it could be, and it's not them, and then they get you with somebody unexpected at the end. So the fact that Paul Rudd's character has been teased as the problem means he's not. Yeah.
And I still question, like, obviously Saz was the one that was shot, but it's shown that they're after Oliver. Maybe someone will come after Mabel next. And I feel like that shot was still intended for Charles.
Yeah,
not
I
for
agree.
Saz.
I
So
agree.
I'm excited to see. I feel like in the past, you and I have had more of a clear idea, other than
Yeah.
Scott Bakula, who we think it's going to be. So I like that they're keeping us guessing this go around.
If it's Scott Bakula, no one will ever live it down. From me,
I never said you were wrong.
I know.
Do you want us to get you a banner?
Yeah, I'll raise a banner. Season 4 Only Murders champion.
So it'll be like what UCF did that year, where they declared themselves.
Yes, because I literally called that episode 1. He was in that episode for what, 5 seconds?
Yes.
And then I on the podcast I said maybe it's Scott Bakula. And you know what they haven't done on this show? Eliminate him as a potential suspect.
Why would he have been in the building though that night?
Why was he dressed like Saz when they met him in L.A., Hope?
Well, because she was also doing stunt double work for him.
Yeah, but why was he dressed like a character from his show?
I don't know.
Charles doesn't walk around in his Brazos costume.
He's the
See,
suspect
that's the thing.
number one.
Saz walks around dressed up like Brazos, right?
Yes.
Okay. Charles does not.
That's true.
But Scott Bakula was dressed like Brazos. I'm just saying. I think there is a higher than 0 chance it's Scott Bakula. I'm just going to throw it out there.
All right. Well, we had another new show. Well, not new, but premiere. Ghosts is back. Season 4, first episode. And we got to figure out what happened to Isaac at the end of season 3 after Isaac's wedding that ended up not happening. He got pulled through one of the walls down in the color pit by
Into the dirt.
By the pilgrim ghost
Puritan.
lady, Puritan ghost lady that they had abandoned, named Patience.
You know, I kind of thought they were going to draw that out, him being lost in the dirt a little bit longer than
I thought they
did.
were going to do that too. No, they found him.
Yep, they found him by the end. And then is Patience now hanging out with them?
Yeah, is she going to stick around? That's
don't
my
know.
question.
She seems like she could get annoying really fast.
We didn't get a lot about Pete this time.
No.
He and Jay had some good interactions again, since they were like, hey, did Pete say the thing about Raiders? I just want them to actually interact, but obviously I think they're going to just keep the running gag that Jay's not going to ever be able to see the ghosts. What do you think?
I think it's starting to get a little old, the way they have to write circles around it
You
to
want to
make
just
sure.
like electrocute Jay so you can see the ghosts?
I don't know. I just feel like it's starting to get a little old in my mind, and I'd be interested to know the British version of this show, which is what this was spun off of, if that shtick hung around the entire series or not. Because if it did, I'm going to tell you, for me personally as a viewer, it's getting a little old.
All right. Well, anything else you want to say about ghosts?
No, they got everybody back. I mean, I'm interested to see where they go. Like I said, at some point,
It's easy viewing.
it's easy viewing.
It's fun.
The show has been pretty. I mean, it's funny, but
Yeah.
it's easy viewing, and at some point, you got to shake it up a little bit, because the funny will start to just be, oh, they did this last season.
Well, now Pete can go places. Like
Pete can go
leave
places.
the
That's
property for a little
entertaining.
bit. His ex-wife is around, even though we didn't see her
Yeah,
in the last
his ex-wife's
episode.
around, so I don't know. We'll see. I can see the show like just becoming samey very quickly if they don't start shaking it up a little bit. I hate to say shake it up with cast, because that could mean getting rid of people that we're fond of.
I don't want any of the ghosts to get sucked off.
But I do really feel like the show could probably use a jolt in the arm with some permanent changes, not just, obviously I like some of the guest stars they bring in, but some permanent changes I think it could use.
All right. Well, we had another show. Finally got into the Apple TV Plus. Is that what it's called now?
I don't know what it's called. Apple TV Plus
something.
minus.
Haven't been in that app in a good long while, but we got in there because Shrinking Season 2 dropped the first 2 episodes for us. We did not know that. We thought we were just getting episode 1, and then we got episode 2, and then we were sad that we couldn't go into episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And Shrinking has already been picked up for Season 3, so they clearly must have confidence in it.
It's an excellent show.
And they corrected my main issue and your main
Addressed it
issue.
immediately.
And it's even a plot point.
Yeah, and not just a plot point in the first couple episodes. It's going to be a plot point, an arc of the season.
Yes. So my main and Daniel's main kind of I guess complaints about Shrinking Season 1 was that as two people who do therapy, who are being therapized, we're like, this really is not a healthy reflection of therapy. You should not have that close of a relationship with your therapist where Jimmy like lets the guy come like live in his house.
Yeah,
Like,
Jason Segal's character Jimmy allows one of his patients to live in his house with him.
yes, and we're like, that's just crossing some lines. You wouldn't see that happen. We're like, it's really not a healthy reflection of what actual therapy would be. And they just addressed it right away. And it's part of the, like you said, it's part of the plot going forward is like, Jimmy, he's wanting to be a good therapist, but he's going to have to stop jimmying things.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good because I bet you anything, maybe if they had intended to do that, but I bet they did receive some complaints from therapists because some people might watch that show having never done therapy thinking that that's what therapy is like, and it's really not. So I think addressing that is good for the story.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford's character, whose name escapes me,
because he's just Harrison Ford,
just really like laid it out very perfectly in the first episode, and said you can't be his therapist anymore. He's going to come to me. I'm going to handle him, and you're going to have to. And more importantly, and I can't remember if this was the first episode or the second episode. Jimmy tried to kind of meddle a little bit more, and Harrison Ford like had that moment where he called him and just like shut it down immediately in a very cold way, but I think a very necessary
it helps.
way. And
it
helped.
The guy he was working with,
because he has to learn to do it himself.
Yes, exactly. What's his name? I'm forgetting his name.
I don't know. I can't remember most of the names.
And then, like, the lady that he works with, the neighbor lady, I completely forgot about their plot of opening, like, the food truck together. I just call her Lady from Scrubs.
Rock
that was
lady.
Dr. Cox's wife, right? Ex-wife?
On and off, yeah.
On and off. I love her husband.
He's the best. He's the best character in the show.
He's a walking green flag. Now, I don't want them to give us too much of him, though, because then it'll take away the preciousness.
Yeah, not too much of him. Don't add to his character. Just leave him exactly how he is. Just pop him in every episode for a couple times to do what he does and then go away.
And then we also, Brett Goldstein, who is a producer on the show, Roy Kent from Ted Lasso, he showed up. We knew he was going to actually be in some of the episodes. We did not know who he was. At least I didn't, because I didn't do any Googling.
Either.
He is actually playing the drunk, I assume it was a drunk driver that killed Jimmy's wife.
Well, yeah, it was a drunk driver. They called him, his nickname's DD.
Oh, that's right. Double D.
Double D. Double D.
DD.
Yeah.
Double D. So that's weird. It's gonna be interesting. Like going forward, like how would you like? Obviously, I think it was a little out of pocket that he would come to the therapist's office where Jimmy works, trying to make like amends. Like
you see Alcoholics Anonymous in TV enough to know he's probably involved in that, and amends is one of the things you have to do in that part of it. So
I'm glad that they had Jimmy react the way he did, like get the heck out of here, because I was worried for a second that Jimmy was going to try to treat him and like pretend like he didn't know who he was, and I'm really glad that like everybody knew it was out in the open. And then Jimmy's daughter like wrote a letter to him. We don't know if she's going to actually give it, but she was definitely parked outside of his house kind of watching him. And I was like, ooh, that's not exactly healthy.
No, it's not.
Not the best. And then Jimmy and Gabby are still hooking up. That's the other therapist, but Gabby's caught feelings. What do you think about them as a couple? Like, do you want them to be a couple? Or I'm a little...
No, I agree. Rock's lady is exactly correct. Jimmy's not in the place.
He's not ready
to be in a relationship right now. His wife's passing is still far too early. And so one or both of those people are going to get hurt.
And I think she's still kind of a mess, too. Like, Gabby has her own issues. I want to see more of Gabby teaching at the college. That was a plot point I completely forgot from season 1 as well. I did like the little subtle touches that Harrison Ford's character is still using the water bottle.
Yep.
That he got. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more. Like I said, they addressed my main criticism from the show. I would say it's still kind of a depressing show, but there's funny moments in it.
It's a dark comedy.
It's not as uplifting as Ted Lasso could be, but in the tone of sometimes you're laughing, sometimes you're like in tears, would be very like akin to Ted Lasso from that perspective.
It's not. I want to rephrase. It's not a dark comedy. It's a melancholy comedy.
Yes.
It's got funny elements in it, but overall, it's sad. It's not dark. It's sad.
Yes.
And it's right up my alley.
Would you agree though that like while Ted Lasso had more uplifting moments, it's almost in the same type of tone though, where you
very much so.
You can be laughing one second, crying the next second.
Yeah. Well, look at the producers who are running it. It's very similar group, and I can feel because didn't the guy that showrun Scrubs Wasn't he also on this show? And I can kind of feel his effect in there a little bit as well.
I am not sure about
pretty
that,
sure
but that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm
based on
pretty
the
sure
cast.
the guy that did Scrubs is in there with Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso in that group, and I can kind of feel that melding of those two styles together.
Every time I think about Scrubs, the episode that pierced me was the Brendan Fraser
Yeah.
episode. Like, I can't rewatch that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So go ahead if you're looking for a show to check out and you just want some more content and you have Apple TV Plus, whatever it's called, sponsor us. No, go check out Shrinking.
If you want us to pronounce the name of your streaming service right, give it to us for free.
Hey, there you go.
All right, so we do have a couple quick catch-up items. We watched Frasier. We continue to watch Frasier. We finally got to meet Alice.
Yes.
This
was played
episode.
by Kelsey Grammer's daughter in real life. I thought this episode was a classic, like I call it a Frasier mess around episode. It reminded me of one of my favorite Frasier episodes. I don't know what season it was from. It was before Niles and Daphne were together. So it was kind of one of those mid seasons where the ski lodge.
Yeah.
Where there's this misunderstanding after misunderstanding. So we've got Frasier, Roz hanging out. Alice is going to come down and meet them. David's there. And then Eve and Freddie are coming. And Frasier's wanting to set up Eve and Freddie. But Eve and Freddie think that Frasier's trying to put the moves on Roz. I'm like, does nobody remember that? Like, I was hoping they would at least have a throwaway line like of Roz being like, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Since she and Frasier did hook up at one point.
They did not address it at all.
Yeah, which is weird because they had just addressed it with BB.
Yeah.
And the previous episode, but I thought it was funny. You can tell that Alice is into Freddie, but I was really glad that Freddie didn't seem to be into her because he's like, dude, I've known her since I remember when she was like a little kid.
I also enjoyed David being into her.
Yeah,
but not
funny.
having a shot.
Absolutely not. It was a funny episode. A good, like I said, Frasier mess around. If they can keep doing more episodes like that, I think that the show can continue for a few more seasons.
Yeah, it was a good episode. It didn't. I felt to me. I think the resolution at the end fell a little flat. They had some really good momentum, and then at one point it just kind of was like, oh, okay, it's over.
Roz really felt like Roz again. Not that
Yeah.
I feel like Perry Gilpin did step back into that role easily, but it just, she and Frasier have just been more like nicey nice. That was a classic, like, Frasier, like Roz, button heads, funny moment that I've missed from the original series. So, and I saw a lot of people on the Frasier Reddit group, which I'm a part of.
Because you're cool.
I am very cool. Like, kind of agreeing, like, wow, Roz really felt like Roz again.
Okay, and you also watched the second episode of Abbott Elementary.
Yes, and you did not. I don't know why you didn't. I don't think you were, like, in the mood.
I come in and out on this show.
I think I was like, I'm gonna watch this. Yeah, it was funny. They addressed ringworm outbreak, and then like Gregory was like, Janine was like all freaked out by how like crazy Gregory was being about it, like wanting to like lock the door, keep all the kids out, making sure he didn't get it. And I'm like, I'd have been the exact same way. So maybe it's OCD. I don't know. Whatever. Ew. If you've ever had ringworm before, high key, don't recommend. And it is very contagious. And I'm like, I see why Gregory, like, I get it was like the running gag, but I was like, I understand why Gregory's acting like this. Nobody wants ringworm. And then, like, Jacob, unfortunately, got ringworm worse than any of the other teachers
Yes,
that
of
it
course.
ever had. It was a cute little episode. Not much more to say about it. Just classic, I guess, shenanigans that probably teachers have to put up with. Not much else to say. Just funny. Give me more Abbott Elementary.
You've got a Goosebumps announcement,
I do.
which is exciting but also strange.
Yes, just like the show. Goosebumps Season 2 is coming back, but not around Halloween like you would think.
That's very odd.
They're making us wait till January, and David Schwimmer, as in Ross Geller, probably the role he's best known for, Mr. Ross Geller, is going to be like the main character because I guess it's like a whole different cast.
Yeah, they're doing anthologies here, basically. Each season's a new.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll have any, like, kind of
Like winks.
tertiary connections that they kind of sew into it.
It makes me wonder which books they're going to do because they did a good job, like, weaving in some of the books that we all remembered in the last season while still making it a continued story. They definitely left on a cliffhanger, but I'm like, if that's what they're going to do and the show's going to keep going, then each season would end on a cliffhanger. So I'm excited for that. I think it's odd that they didn't just drop them, or at least the first one, if anything, like Halloween week. Like,
It's
Like,
it's
I don't think
really,
this show's going to compete with Agatha, so
yeah, it's
gonna have its own
really
audience.
strange to drop it in January. It's probably not great.
but at least I know I'm getting 2 shows in January, Severance and I guess
It's
now
true.
Goosebumps.
It's true. It's true. All right, and so next up, Dancing with the Stars.
Dancing with the Stars.
Talking about dedication night.
Yes.
No offense. Love that everybody has things that are meaningful to them, but I don't care for dedication night because
Why not?
all the dances and all the songs just end up feeling like somber and sad.
You didn't like Brooks's salsa dedicated to her sisters, and then they came out and reminded me of like Mean Girls doing that. If they had done the rock, what is it? Jingle Bell Rock.
or you get that, which is a really like
What are you doing
tone-deaf,
here,
strange
Glove?
thing.
I thought that it was really cute that Jen dedicated her dance to Taylor Swift. Everybody else was like, I'm dedicating this to the like Olympic rugby team, the Olympics men's gymnastics team, my mom, Kelsey, my fiance, and Jen's like, I'm dedicating this to Taylor Swift. Like, it made sense when she explained it. I just thought it was cute. Like, everybody had all these like deep, serious things.
I think she just wanted to dance to Taylor Swift.
You never know. I'm going to say it right now. This judging this season is just out of whack. I liked Mark as a guest judge. He did a good job, unlike Gene Simmons. Like, he actually knows what he's talking about. If they wanted to add Mark as a 4th judge, that would be fine with me because he actually knows what he's talking about, and I felt like he gave really good feedback of stuff they could work on. That being said, the judging is, especially from Carrie Ann, is weird. This season, it's like they are judging like each contestant almost individually instead of as a cohesive unit. I have been watching Dancing with the Stars since like 2005 when my parents were watching this and I was home from break and I was like, what are y'all watching? I want to sit down and see this show. This show's weird. And then suddenly next thing I know, I'm hooked. And they've always like, I mean, I remember when they used to give like 4s and 2s. I remember like Master P got like 2s. He was awful, by the way, terrible. And it's like they are individually judging each person. And it's starting to really annoy me because, yes, Chandler did have a mistake in her contemporary, but the fact that she got all 8s, ridiculous. Do I think Brandon could have given her more choreo? Sure. But the fact that she got 8s, while some other people, like Danny, scored a little bit higher. Danny got all 9s. And I thought that Whitney did a great job with him. Obviously, they have a viral moment on TikTok now with like the whole leg lift thing. But for the most part, he was just kind of lifting and throwing Whitney about. Let's call it what it is. You know what I mean? And the fact that Danny got all 9s and scored better than Chandler and then scored better than Steven, who got all 8s and 1 9, is crazy to me. Some people thought Danny deserved all 10s. I guess to each their own. But I'm like, for the most part, like, yeah, Whitney made him look good, but he was basically walking around lifting Whitney, doing some cool tricks. Like, to me, it was not as good as some of the other dances.
I've still not seen Danny do a dance where he's like in frame and looks properly in frame for a significant amount of time and dancing around the way like he's supposed to. And
I mean, he's got Whitney, one of the best choreographers, who made him look good in that dance. I'm not saying it was a bad dance. It was just, I just compared to the other ones, and like, I don't know what they are thinking with Steven, but it's really starting to tick me off. I feel like they are judging Steven as if he has a world-class dance experience. One, men's gymnastics don't like dance like the same in their floor routines as women gymnastics. It's actually quite awkward. And he's a pommel horse specialist. The fact that he is taking their corrections, I do agree a little bit with what Bruno is saying, is that because each of the judges like visited some of them in rehearsal, that he needs to stop just hitting the steps, but he needs to dance the steps. And I feel like he is taking the corrections. He is trying. Like, you thought he was going to get 10s at the end of that dance.
Really well,
So did other people. I thought he at least deserved of all 9s, and I think Derek's the only one that gave him a 9. And I'm like, and I don't know, part of this weird judging, I think, is that they started the season so early by giving everybody really good scores, and now they're kind of like in this hold pattern. But that's getting on my nerves. I do think Alona, like dressed. Well, she did dress. That's the best costuming they've done on her. Hands down. I feel like they've like, well, I guess one of her rugby teammates like made a comment on Instagram like, your outfits in like rehearsal look so much better, you should do your own costumes. And they finally gave her, I felt like, a costume that did her justice, and her dance was much improved, much better. She had a kind of a rough week the week before, but yeah, this judging is just not it. It's really getting on my nerves. What about you?
The most of the seasons I've watched, the most uneven it's felt. Like you said, week 1 started out and they were already giving out 7s and 8s.
Yeah.
In past seasons, week 1 nobody was getting more than a 6.
Well, you could tell that like Chandler was irritated. They were like, "Oh, you just need to, give it your all," or whatever they said. And she's like, I feel like, you tell she was like, but I do feel like I'm giving it my all.
Do you think
like,
there is some sort of process where maybe they're trying to not have, because we have had in the seasons past where one person kind of was just in first place through the entire competition. Do you think maybe they're trying to do something where they're trying to break that up a little bit, so
I think
they are
part of it.
grading her a little harder here in the middle, but her scores will come back up as we get to the end?
I think that's part of it. And then I also think sometimes it is a strategy to get more people to vote, because I don't think she has as strong a fan base as say like Charlie did. If
they're doing that, that's bullcrap.
Yeah, it's just annoying to me. I feel like especially Carrie Ann's scores have just been like so out of pocket. Like it just, and people are like, there's people like me and you and some others that like love Steven, and then other people really don't like Riley for some reason. Those people are incorrect, because Riley is bringing a whole new generation of fans on. She's made it so popular, but I think there's some old school people that are like, which is very interesting to me, because I once remember when Julianne Hough was like the new young pro when she was like a teenager, and I'm like, y'all are just getting old. So I think, like, again, I don't know why they're being so hard on Steven, but it's getting on my nerves. He has a Charleston for Disney night, which we'll get into Disney night. I don't know. I forget what a Charleston is supposed to look like off the top of my head. I'll be more interested to see him do like stuff like the rumba. Like, is he going to be okay with that? And like, again, I agree with some of the criticisms against him. I just feel like they are acting like Steven has world-class dance experience, and it's really getting on my nerves and making me mad.
So who did we lose this week?
We lost Brooks. Big fat bummer.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. And you know what makes me mad is that Brooks could have been good if Gleb had given her more to work with. Instead, they leaned way too hard into the showmance. It gave everybody the ick. It was uncomfortable. It was annoying. And yeah, I think he did her an injustice. I think she could have been a better dancer if they hadn't tried to shove that down our throats. If you're wanting to promote a showmance, don't be so over the top in front with it.
It didn't feel natural. And
Jen and Sasha, they actually have more chemistry. We've talked about this.
Yeah, no question.
Than Brooks and Gleb. So I think this week, tonight is Disney night. My favorite night on Dancing with the Stars is Halloween night or Disney night. Your favorite? You usually like Halloween. Right?
Halloween usually for me.
So, which you get that next week. So like both of our favorite nights are coming up. I think that, one, I do think it's crappy when somebody goes home on Disney night. That annoys me. But I think if we're going by fairness, as fun as he is, and as much as I love Daniela's choreography, I think Dwight's got to go.
I agree.
I just think he's got to go.
He's not developing the same way Amon did. I think he's got too many hurdles in front of him when it comes to just the physical aspect, and I just don't see the improvement.
Yeah.
Versus the other people that are still there.
He started off hard out the gate, but
he did. Yeah. He did. But the other people that are still in the competition, I can't. Now that Brooks is gone, Dwight's the person left who I really don't know if he has much more ceiling.
Yeah, and I don't know how many fans are.
I'm not speaking in puns here. Like, I just don't think there's much higher for him to go.
And I think that Phaedra has done better than him. And if we're going back,
I agree.
Strictly like how they've improved, she deserves to stay. I think it's going to be one of those two, though.
I'd say those two. Of course, again, they don't let us see into the scoring.
I wish they did.
From the fans, so we don't really know who's getting the most fan vote. But I can't imagine one of those two are at the top.
Yeah, and I think after like they go, like honestly, I think at this point, now that Brooks is gone, like each week it's going to get sad because this. I think you and I were talking about this. This cast as a whole is really fun.
Yes, I agree.
Like, I feel like I'd be happy with, like, almost any of them winning it at this point. Like, it's just, I'm going to be sad when each one of them goes.
At some point, we're going to, like, once like, Phaedra and Dwight, and I'll even miss both of them, because I think both of them bring, while they might not be the best dancers, they bring a lot of fun attitude to the show. But once those two are gone, it's going to get really dicey.
And I am a little worried for Chandler because I don't know how good her fan base is. I don't know who's showing up. And we have had shock eliminations before where some of the better dancers get eliminated.
Couple weeks in a row, she's also taken it on the chin from the judges.
Yeah, they're being really hard on her.
I will be interested to see if she comes back like storming again this week, or if 2 weeks in a row has kind of deflated her energy a little bit.
Well, we are getting Disney Night tonight, and usually they used to do team dances during Halloween week, but we're getting team dances for Disney Night. I don't know how the teams were decided, but Team Goofs, which is dancing to Eye from a Goofy movie, one of the greatest songs. Like, who still listens to that on a running playlist to this day? That's right, I do. That has Joey, Jen, Chandler, Alona. Am I missing anybody else in that group? I think that's that group. And then we've got in the other group, which is going to dance to the Lion King, we have Dwight, Danny, Steven, and Phaedra. Am I missing any? I don't think so.
I don't know.
So, you don't know. I think that sounds about right. The best dancers are all clearly in Team Goofs, but I would say when it comes to pros that choreograph, you're getting Whitney, Danny, and Val in the other group. So I think it's very not very well split with dancers, but in terms of like choreographers, you got the better. So I'm going to be interested to see how that goes. There's been some rumblings on the street that Dwight might lift up Steven or do something. It looks like they're doing a jump move, which because they're doing the Lion King. Like, how cool would it be if they lifted Steven in the air? Are there any particular dances that you're excited for?
No.
Did you completely forget who? I sat there and was hard on Danny, but I'm going to be a Danny stan tonight. You know what dance he's getting, right? I told you this like 30 times.
Tell me once more, please.
Well, Deadpool is now part of the Disney universe,
oh,
so Danny and Whitney are getting in sync. Bye, bye, bye. There.
I feel like that's a little cheaty.
You know what though? I'm an in sync gal. I'm going to have to be all in on it.
That opens up the can to basically say any song that's ever been in a movie that has now owned by Disney is a Disney song.
Bye 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 has been on my Spotify playlist for years at this point because, again, NSYNC Stan. When it comes on now, it says from Deadpool. It doesn't say, like, from No Strings Attached, the NSYNC album. That I remember when you used to, like, go out for, like, an album release, you go to, like, a record store. We went to the one in the mall. And I remember like waiting to get No Strings Attached. I think that's a perfect note to end this podcast on.
I waited in a store once for the expansion pack to World of Warcraft. That's the only time I remember waiting in a store for something like that.
We were already dating at that point, right?
Yeah, 2005, baby.
Nice. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.